normally cheerful Sawara beaming almost blindingly, too dazed to stay in one place for more than a few minutes, slapping the back of every colleague he met and leaving early, at Nakamori's order, to take his wife out to dinner. His only memory of Reina is a shy woman hanging back in the crowd, polar opposite to Sawara's effusive affability, but lighting up like a spotlight in her husband's company. A wave of muttering washes through the squad before Nakamori straightens away from the desk support, action killing the sound. "And my daughter, Ako, 17, he says flatly, gruff voice filling the silence. He feels a shock run through the room like a change in the weather, sees it register in the faces of his men. He begins again, before the protests can break out in the face of this new unexpected information. "There is an obvious connection here," he says. "As far as I know, the task force has been the only squad attacked tonight." It occurs to him as he speaks that he has no way to know if this is true. Hoshino, Ohara. He singles out the two men by the door with no immediate family he knows of. They straighten stiffly under his sharp eyes. "Go find out. Friends in the other departments, dispatch, whatever." They nod and slip out. "Assuming we're the sole target, who could be targeting us? What enemies have we made as a group?" He's thinking aloud more than anything else, falling into the role of a police inspector. By habit, he begins to reach into his pocket for a cigarette. "Kaitou kid," says Murata by the window, the 2-month-old newcomer. Nakamori's hand falls away from his pocket, muscles tensing. Silence falls like a veil, a state he has no trouble recognizing the cause of. No one wants to speak out in defense of a criminal, of their enemy, but no one believes it either. "That's true," says Nakamori, grudgingly aware of his reputation of being kinder to his quarry than he could be. At least, that's what it once was. The gods only knew what it is now, wrote rumors, the natural telepathy of a close-knit squad, so near to the hive mind of flocks of birds and schools of fish that allows them to know which way to turn simultaneously, has spread about the incident in Tokyo General 4 months ago. But at least 2 wives were present for the abductions and were attacked and knocked unconscious. This is no way to conduct an investigation by committee with almost no facts and a hell of a lot of bias. "Kid doesn't kill, Inspector," says Murata, with a glance at the men standing at his side. Nakamori knows he and Washido are often partnered, but has no idea as to the depth of their friendship, if any. The new squad has potential, but he still doesn't know them, not all of them. Doesn't have the absolute trust in them he did in the original task force, and he misses that strength to fall back on. Misses it with a sharp pain now. "He doesn't hurt people either." His voice is growing rougher, temper thinner. Any other time, any other day, he could tell the kid to shut up, to fall in line, but his status here is uncertain. This is no official meeting of the force, and families of kidnapped victims do not conduct their investigations. "Doesn't knock them out? Maybe not by violence, but—" The man doesn't have to voice his point. They all know kids not above using sleep-inducing drugs, and although the line is not a fine one in Nakamori's mind, he knows he cannot keep defending the thief and retain the trust of all his men. The point is one not previously considered by most of them, and a lively discussion breaks out. Supporters hampered by the awareness that they're on the wrong side of the law and argue against their own work. Nakamori lets it run on for a few minutes, afraid to push the men into the schism. Deeply uneasy about this bottom-up command, but beside him, the other men directly involved are standing quietly, an isolated island watching the fires of debate from afar. "All right," he breaks out eventually, and the room quiets. "It might be the kid. We can't discount that possibility, and I won't. As far as a motive's concerned, it's the most likely. Although, if you think kid thinks we're enough of a threat to go to all this effort to stop us, then—" He cuts himself off before he can say anything unfortunate, reddening with irritation at the need to restrain himself. But in the faces of his men he sees embarrassment and agreement, even from Murata. "Kid aside, who else? It might not be the entire force that's a target. Maybe just enough of us they felt warranted in attacking everyone. Unlikely. The force works as a team, and in any case, they're no threat to anyone but Kid, and even there they haven't been much of one to date, although he intends that to change. Nakamori tries to review the previous stations of the men now under his command, but no noticeable common factor comes up. No unit that more than 2 or 3 of them had belonged to occurs to him. "What about ransom, sir?" suggests Ishimura. Nakamori blinks, then turns to the men standing by him. Ugawa catches his awkward glance and fends for him.
"Don't know about you, sir, but none of us are secretly just really philanthropic millionaires."
The others give varying degrees of assent. "Right, and we have no significant connections in the force. Nothing we could bargain for anything with." He himself has ties to Section 1's superintendent and Tokyo's police general, but that's hardly common knowledge, and besides, these days he used up all his favors in those quarters. "We, in fact, have only one significant feature, our connection to Kaitou Kid." They're all thinking it, but he's damned if he can equate that with a ransom demand, unless some of Kid's more fanatic fans are trying to bargain for the force to leave him alone. Not a promising theory. He's about to go on when his thoughts are interrupted by his desk phone wailing. He starts about, then reaches over the desk to pick it up with a hesitant hand, well aware that the eyes of everyone in the room are on him.
"Nakamori. Not many men would leave their house after their daughter was abducted, Inspector,"
says the voice. It was the harsh grit of a heavy smoker, overset with syrupy smugness.
"Who the hell is this?"
he growls, looking sharply to Ugawa, whose eyes widen. A second later, he's sprinting out the door, men tripping to get out of his way.
"A man with a request."
"And the price?" "Stall. Drag it out. Burn time like paper," hiss his instincts in a voiceless thought. But there doesn't seem to be any hurry on the other end of the line, and that's worrying. Says ignorance, or too much assurance, and whoever orchestrated this isn't ignorant.
"For each day you go over deadline, one more bright face vanishes from this world."
He can hear the sarcastic smile. Damn the bastard. "They're all right?" Men are bunching in around him, straining for the words, for reassurance, for their children's voices.
"Alive."
"That's not what I asked you, damn it." "Damn you."
"You don't say," drawls the voice.
"Let me talk to them. Nothing happens until then." Nothing happens without them, and if they're hurt. If Akko is hurt. His shoulders arching from tenseness, he tries to force himself to relax. It's like putting on more speed going around a curve, just makes him feel closer to spinning out. There's a rattling sound from the other side of the phone. It might be a sigh or a laugh. Nakamori glances at the men around him. Those closest were watching him with desperate, hungry eyes.
"Daddy?"
It's the voice of a young boy, but all Nakamori knows that it isn't Akko. He holds the phone away from his ear, and the voice says again,
"Daddy?"
the high voice cutting through the room. Takadai starts forward on shaky legs and grabs the phone in his white hands.
"Shin, are you all right?"
He can hear the high ramble of the boy's voice, but with the phone next to Takadai's ear, he can't make out the words. After a minute, the man's eyes narrow.
"You fucking bastard! You hurt them and all?"
Face contorting in fury, the first Nakamori has ever seen in him, he snarls and hands the phone back to the inspector.
"Well?"
asks the voice sardonically. Nakamori looks to Takadai, standing at his left shoulder. "He says so, sir. Scared and a little roughed up, but all right. Says Oba-san and One-chan are looking after them." The man is still ramrod stiff, but already his eyes are beginning to loosen, face taking on the haunted look of earlier. Takadai isn't built to carry rage, is one of those men who can only cram it in and hold it at the height of emotional intensity. Beside him, Sawada sighs in relief, shoulders slumping. Nakamori, heart tight, turns his attention back to the phone.
"All right, what do you want?" "That's simple, Inspector. The same thing you do. Kaitou 1412.
For a minute, Nakamori freezes, mind unable to work. All the cogs and wheels stop dead, frozen and dusty and utterly unable to turn out the thought that's called for.